Hello there, you fine looking folk. This is Chris from TechSpec. I'm here with the new Nokia 7.2 smartphone. Great budget friendly device, costs 250 quid here in the UK. You can actually pick it up around 230 from the likes of Amazon and Carphone Warehouse SIM-free, which is fantastic value considering it's packing a 6.3 inch HDR ready display. You've got a triple lens rear camera, a nice stock version of Android, some really great specs and features for that price. So let's get it fully unboxed, set up and take a full on tour of that hardware and software. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers. So there's the phone itself. Let's just stick that aside for a brief moment while we check out what exactly else you get in the box. Pokey pin device, of course, to actually get your SIM in the sucker. Get started guide, don't need that. Always nice and straightforward with a bit of Android One action. And in here you got everything else that you need. So a nice bit of Type-C USB action to actually power it back up. And you get some headphones bundled in there as well. I'm not expecting much from these. I'm guessing they're fairly sort of cheap and cheerful. Yeah, unsurprisingly they are your typical average ear scratchers. So alright to sort of shove in a bag or a pocket or something just in case your Bluetooth pair die on the road. And you also get a bit of 3-pin plug action as well. Lovely stuff. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the highly exciting content of the Nokia 7.2 box. Let's just cram all that crap back in there, get rid of that. Now we can actually concentrate on the phone itself. Now first of all, I'm super chuffed because this is the lovely ethereal green version of the Nokia 7.2. You can also pick it up in boring black and white if you like, but frankly this is a stunning version. As you can see, it's kind of almost got a sort of an aurora style glow, just as you sort of bend it towards the light. Lovely little sheen coming off this thing, gorgeous stuff. Now the Nokia 7.2 definitely has a very unique, distinctive look and feel. It's got almost a metallic style sheen, as you can see there, but it's actually composed of glass. It's actually kind of a polymer composite, which is then surfaced with Gorilla Glass 3 on the back, and you get Gorilla Glass 3 on the front as well for a bit of extra protection, which is great to see. Bit of metallic edge in there as well. It's nice and light at 180 grams, despite the fact that obviously it is quite a beast at 6.3 inches. We have a quick tour of the rest of the hardware as well. Here on the right edge, you've got your power button and your volume rocker. And then over on the left edge, you've got a dedicated Google Assistant button. Great news if you're always pestering that thing to do your bidding. And then you've got your SIM tray as well. I've just ripped that out. And as you can see there, you've got space for 2 SIM cards, so personal and work SIM or what have you. And you've also got space for a microSD memory card of up to 512 gigs as well to boost the, I believe it's 64 or 128 gigs of onboard storage. So hopefully we've got some gas in the tank where you can get the Nokia 7.2 all set up. Yep. Oh, that is a powerfully bright display. I think that Nokia said it was, well, HMD Global, of course, who actually manufactures the Nokia branded phones now, said it goes up to 500 nits. I'm guessing that's gone straight to maximum level because, ouch, that is eyeball searing right there. Oh, classic. Always gives me a bit of a chill starting up a Nokia smartphone for the first time, mostly because my very first smartphone was a Nokia, and it reminds me that that was over 20 years ago and how bloody old I am these days. And of course here on the Nokia 7.2 you get a rear-mounted physical fingerprint sensor, which is absolutely lovely to see still in 2019. It is still a thing. I don't mind the in-display ones, they're getting a lot better than they were this time last year, but I still do prefer, got to say, a proper physical sensor on the back. It's just nice and convenient, easy to reach, and rarely lets you down. And yes, you've got full face unlock support as well, great stuff. So let's get started. Just got to scan in my mug, looking a bit beardy, bit hobo-ish. That's because I haven't bothered to shave this weekend. Don't judge me too harshly. Thankfully that shouldn't really prove an issue because A, face recognition tends to disregard things like stubble anyway, and B, I tend to look like a hobo most of the time, so all good. Anyway, the setup process is complete. I managed to dial down the brightness finally because for some annoying reason you can't do that during setup. Really, really irritating. And here we are inside of good old Android. I believe it's just Android 9, unfortunately. It certainly was when the Nokia 7.2 was launched. So a bit of a shame that you don't have the latest version of Android. And indeed, yes, I just checked, it is still version 9, so no Android 10 just yet, but hopefully that should be coming really soon. And of course the great thing about an Android One device like the Nokia 7.2 is you're guaranteed 2 full years of OS updates, so it should get updated to Android 10 and then Android 11 again come the end of 2020. Scary thoughts. And also 3 years of security updates as well. So the Nokia 7.2 should stay nice and fresh for the full length of a phone contract, which is great to see. And as you can see, it's got a lovely stock feel. It hasn't got a heavy overlay or anything like that, courtesy of Nokia. All they've done is basically added in some extra bonus features, such as that face recognition. resolution, and you'll find a couple of little other bits hidden away in there. But for the most part, it is lovely vanilla Android UI. First up, a little bit more about that actual display. So as I mentioned before, it's a 6.3 inch, it's an IPS panel, and it's got a full HD plus resolution, nice and bright at that 500 nits. And as you can see, they're just a dinky little notch up top. The bezels are sort of relatively slender for a budget device, so fairly chunky down below. Of course, got a Nokia branded on there, that's how chunky they are, but really, really not that bad at all for an affordable handset. They're actually slimmer than the iPhone 11, so hooray. One of the most impressive aspects as well of this 6.3 inch display is the fact that it's HDR10 compliant, and it can actually do upscaling as well, SDR level content to near HDR quality. So as you can see, they're pretty sharp contrast, reasonably punchy colours for an IPS, not exactly super vibrant in your face or anything, but yeah, it definitely looks pretty good. Detail level's not the strongest. This is a 1080p video that I'm just streaming over YouTube. It's not quite as crisp as you would hope when you sort of get in close, but again, absolutely fine if you're just going to be kicking back with a bit of Netflix on the train. So the viewing angles and everything seem perfectly fine as well as we twist and turn about. I can't remember off the top of my head if it's stereo speakers or not. Let's just try it. Nope, just mono speakers, unfortunately. So yeah, all of your media is pumped out of that bottom speaker. But yeah, certainly loud enough to be clearly heard in a noisy environment, that's for sure. Oh god, this movie looks so bad. Of course, I'll be fully testing out the display, the media chops, everything in my in-depth Nokia 7.2 review, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully coming rather soon indeed, in the next sort of week or so. As for the performance, that's provided by a budget-friendly Snapdragon 660 chipset, backed by either 4 or 6 gigs of RAM, depending on how much money you throw at Nokia. So I'm not exactly expecting the performance to blow my off or anything, but hopefully likes of PUBG Mobile will play with an acceptable frame rate on obviously those low detail settings. Probably best off with more casual titles, of course, here on the Nokia 7.2, but you can of course do a nice bit of multitasking and the likes. As you can see, I've got another security update already available, so I'll have to get that downloaded. And on the battery front, you get a 3500 milliamp cell stuffed inside, so that should hopefully keep you going all day, especially as it's a nice power efficient platform. Obviously it's a nice stock version of Android and everything as well, so yeah, fingers crossed it'll do a better job than the Pixel 4 did. And of course you've got usual battery saver modes and all that shenanigans. Now let's move last but certainly not least onto that triple lens rear Zeiss camera tech. So as you can see, there are 3 lenses plus the LED flash making up a nice sort of quad arrangement on this circular camera chassis. Certainly the circular sort of camera body is getting very, very popular in 2019 as we're heading into 2020, so expect to see a lot more of those. Now I won't go into too much detail on the camera tech here on the Nokia 7.2 for this unboxing video. I'll save that for my in-depth review, but basically you get a 48 megapixel primary lens like pretty much every other smartphone snapper that's been released at the moment. It's quad pixel tech though, so it'll shoot a 12 megapixel photo by default and just combine 4 pixels into one. All that information just to help brighten up the overall image. So as you can see there, if you go into photo resolution, photos from the rear camera, 12 megapixel. You can actually boost it up to 48 megapixel if you want to ditch the quad pixel tech and just shoot at that top resolution. You've got raw picture support as well in the photo and pro mode. If you just quickly dive into the video resolution while we're in here as well, as you can see it's full HD by default, but you can bump that up to 4K resolution footage as well, and of course you can shoot up to full HD using the front-facing camera. And as you can see from that main camera UI, there are lots of toggles and different modes to play around with. It's a little bit cluttered, but once you sort of learn your way around it, it won't be too bad. You can swap between the main 48 megapixel lens and the secondary 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens with a quick tap of these little icons down here. As you can see, it's not the swiftest of transitions, but you get afforded a nice 118 degree angle view with that ultra wide angle, so really good for a dramatic action shot of for instance a meerkat dressed as Batman. Great stuff. And of course you've got a 5 megapixel depth sensor as well. That's the third lens here on the Nokia 7.2. Let's just skip all that. And that obviously just basically helps to keep your subject nice and crisp and then gives you a nice bokeh style blurry background, just like every other portrait mode. Full pro controls, so you can have a bit of a play around with those if you want. Just skip all that. So as you can see, ISO level, white balance, all that kind of shenanigans you can have a play around with, or just leave them individually on auto if you like. And then if we dive back this way, you see you've got of course your video mode, and you've also got a night mode as well, which you can dive into, which just shoots lots of different photos photos at different exposure levels, and then melds them together into a lovely, sexy, brightly lit, hopefully well balanced shot. Of course, again, be fully testing that out. And as you can see there, you can actually use the ultra wide angle lens with that night mode as well, just like you can on the latest OnePlus handsets, for instance. And then if we flip around to the front facing snapper, it's a 20 megapixel lens, f2.0 I believe it is. And as you can see there, you can shoot your photos, your videos up to full HD, of course. Don't believe you can shoot night mode, unfortunately. So now, as you can see there, it just swaps back to the rear facing camera. But you can, however, shoot a nice bit of portrait shot action using that front facing camera. Of course, it probably won't be quite as reliable with the old edge detection because you don't have a dedicated depth sensor, but hopefully should do the job quite nicely. Smile. And that right there is the look of a deranged madman who hasn't had enough sleep and desperately needs a shave. So there you have it. That in a nutshell is the Nokia 7.2 full hardware and software tour. As I say, stay tuned for my in-depth Nokia 7.2 review. That'll be coming in about a week's time. I've had my SIM slapped in there from today, Sunday the 24th. So hopefully, come next Sunday/Monday, we'll be able to get my in-depth thoughts on how good this budget blower is. 250 quid. You know what? Looks pretty good to me. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, everyone. If you've got any questions, queries, any recommendations on videos you would like to see on the Nokia 7.2, definitely bung your thoughts down below. It'd be great to hear. And don't forget to subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech. Isn't that right, Makeup Batman?
Oh, yes, it's very right, Chris. Oh, you're so lovely and sexy and handsome. I love your bold, shiny head. Ooh.